Hello friends, today we will discuss temporal bone. This bone contributes in the formation of temple, that's why it is known as temporal bone. It is a paired bone of skull. And first of all we will discuss its part. This bone has four parts. A squamous part, you can see here, this is the squamous part, and second is a petromastoid part. This is a mastoid process, and this is a petrous part, so collectively known as petromastoid part. Third one is a tympanic part, and fourth is a process comes out from this bone that is known as styloid process. The fourth part is a styloid process. Second thing, side determination. Its squamous part, paper thin plate squamous part facing upward. Okay, so and the tip of the mastoid process facing downward, as well as styloid process facing downward. The zygomatic process, this is a zygomatic process. The direction of the zygomatic process forward, okay, and the direction of the petrous part is always on the forward, and the lateral surface of squamous part of temporal bone is always smooth. This is lateral, and this is medial surface, this is cerebral surface, this is the rough. So laterally smoothness on the squamous part, medially there is a roughness, direction of the mastoid process anteriorly, okay, and squamous part facing superiorly. So this is the bone of right side. This is the bone, right temporal bone. Okay, now one by one we will discuss its part. This is the squamous part. You can see lateral surface is smooth, and on its lateral surface you can see here there is a groove. This groove is for the middle temporal artery, which is a branch of superficial temporal artery. Okay, now on its medial surface there is a roughness for the cerebral hemisphere, and there is a middle meningeal vessels are also present on this region. Now after that we will discuss the zygomatic process. This is a zygomatic process. Zygomatic process of temporal bone articulates anteriorly by the temporal process of zygomatic bone, and collectively they forms a zygoma. Okay, zygomatic arch or zygoma. So we will discuss it, the surfaces and borders of the zygomatic process. Anteriorly the zygomatic process has lateral surface, medial surface, superior border, and inferior border. Okay, now whole of the medial surface and inferior border gives attachment to masseter muscle. Okay, superior border of the zygomatic process gives attachment to temporal fascia. Lateral surface anteriorly on the zygomatic arch, the lateral surface is subcutaneous throughout the life, and it is related to different structure from posterior to anterior. Most posteriorly auriculotemporal nerve, then superficial temporal vein, then superficial temporal artery. Okay, now come to the inferior border. Okay, inferior border I have told you earlier, the inferior border and the medial surface gives attachment to masseter muscle. Now come to the posterior part of lateral surface. This is important. The posterior part of lateral surface, you can see here, forms a tubercle, triangular tubercle like structure. This is known as the tubercle of root of zygoma. Tubercle of root of zygoma. This tubercle of root of zygoma divides into two roots. You can see here, this is the anterior root which goes on the medial side, and there is another posterior root which continues as a supramastoid crest. Okay, and laterally they both the root converge and forms a tubercle of root of zygoma. This tubercle of root of zygoma gives attachment to lateral ligament of temporomandibular joint. Okay, now this anterior root is known as the articular tubercle. This anterior root is known as the articular tubercle. Now, just posterior to this articular tubercle, this is a fossa. This is known as the mandibular fossa, and this mandibular fossa and articular tubercle, they are take part in the formation of temporomandibular joint. This is the articular part of mandibular fossa. Okay, so just anterior to tympanic part, this is the tympanic part. Just anterior to tympanic part, there is a mandibular fossa which take part in the formation of temporomandibular joint. Now, posterior to it, you can see here, this is the external acoustic meatus. Margins of the external acoustic meatus gives attachment to cartilaginous part of external ear. Okay, on the above side to the external acoustic meatus, you can see here I have marked a triangle. This is known as the Mac-Evans triangle or suprameatal triangle. This suprameatal triangle has certain boundaries. This is the posterior boundary. Posterior boundary is formed by the tangent line on the posterior part of the external acoustic meatus. Okay, then suprameatal triangle, the supramastoid crest forms its another boundary, and the superior part, this is the superior margin of the external acoustic meatus, forms its another boundary. So this is the triangle known as the Mac-Evans triangle or suprameatal triangle. What is the clinical importance of this triangle? Just 12.5 millimeter deep. I repeat, just 12.5 millimeter deep to this triangle, there is a mastoid antrum. Mastoid antrum in this petrous part of temporal bone, and the mastoid antrum has mastoid air cells. Okay, when there is an inflammation of mastoid air cells takes place, there is a massive pain, and this is the emergency condition. So whenever there is a mastoiditis occurs, we will make a burr hole on this landmarks and remove the mastoid air cells. This is the emergency procedure, and this is the landmark for the treatment of mastoiditis. Okay, now posterior to this is the mastoid part. Okay, petromastoid part, for the purpose of convenient, we will divide it into two parts, mastoid part and petrous part. This is the mastoid part. Superiorly, you can see in the mastoid part, superiorly there are two attachments. That is a auricularis posterior muscle, which is the muscle of pinna, and the occipital belly of occipitofrontalis muscle. Okay, inferiorly there is an attachment from above downward, sternocleidomastoid, splenius capitis and longissimus capitis. So the mastoid process gives attachment to sternocleidomastoid, splenius capitis and longissimus capitis, while the other part of the mastoid part gives attachment to auricularis posterior and occipital belly of occipitofrontalis. One more thing is appreciable here. This is the foramen. You can see this is the inconstant foramen present on the mastoid part. This is known as the mastoid foramen. This foramen opens inferiorly into, you can see here, this is the sigmoid sulcus. On the upper summit of the sigmoid sulcus it opens, and through this imagery vein passes. Imagery vein and the branch of the occipital artery passes. You can see medially there is a sulcus known as the sigmoid sulcus. Now on the mastoid, come to the mastoid process. This is the lateral aspect of mastoid process. On the medial aspect of mastoid process, you can see here there is a groove. This is the linear groove, and medial to it there is another groove. Okay, so this is the lateral groove and this is the medial groove. And the lateral groove is known as the digastric groove or digastric fossa, or you can say digastric notch. Better word is digastric notch. In this digastric notch, the posterior belly of digastric muscles takes attachment. Medial to this groove is for the occipital artery. Okay, this groove is for the occipital artery. Now, okay, the superior border of the mastoid squamous part articulates with the parietal bone, and inferior border, you can see, anteroinferior border of this squamous part articulates with the greater wing of sphenoid. Now one more thing we have to discuss. You can see here, this is the articular part of the mandibular fossa and this is the tympanic part. Okay, between these two things you can see here there is a sulcus. This sulcus laterally this sulcus is forms a tympanic sulcus, and medially this sulcus is known as the squamotympanic fissure. Okay, squamotympanic fissure is divided into two parts by a bone that is known as the downward edge of tegmen tympani. Tegmen tympani is a downward edge of tegmen tympani which divides this squamotympanic fissure into two. One is the petrosquamous and which is the anterior one, and posterior is a petrotympanic part. The petrotympanic fissure is an important thing. From this petrotympanic fissure there is a chorda tympani branch of facial nerve, anterior ligament of malleus and tympanic artery passes, and the petrotympanic fissure leads into middle ear. Okay, you can see here this is the tympanic sulcus and this is the squamotympanic fissure. Squamotympanic fissure is divided into two by a downward edge of tegmen tympani, anteriorly petrosquamous and posteriorly petrotympanic. This petrotympanic fissure is crossed by, or you can say there are the three things which passing through this petrotympanic fissure. That one is the chorda tympani branch of facial nerve, second is the anterior ligament of malleus, and third thing is a tympanic artery, and this petrotympanic fissure leads into middle ear. Okay, now come to the petrous part. You can see this is the petrous part. Petrous part has three surfaces. One is anterior surface, one is posterior surface, and one is inferior surface which is facing towards the norma basalis. Okay, now this is the petrous part. Petrous part of temporal bone has one apex which leads into the foramen lacerum. There is the posterior part which attached to the squamous part of the temporal bone. This is known as the base. Here on the base side you can see there is a, I have already told you, there is a mastoid antrum present. In the mastoid antrum there is a mastoid air cells lie here. Okay, now so one base, one apex, one anterior surface, one posterior surface, and one inferior surface. One by one we will discuss. From apex to base on the anterior surface, first of all you can see this is the depression. Towards the apex side there is a depression known as the trigeminal impression. Here there is a trigeminal ganglion lies. Okay, posterior to this there is a another depression known as the roof of internal acoustic meatus. Okay, roof of the internal acoustic meatus, and more posterior to this there is a elevation. This elevation is known as arcuate eminence. This arcuate eminence is formed by the superior semicircular canal, and posterior, more posterolateral to this is the downward edge of tegmen tympani. I have told you earlier this divides the squamotympanic fissure into two. Okay, now this is the posterior surface. On this posterior surface you can see here this is the internal acoustic meatus. I have told you the external acoustic meatus. Now it is on the posterior surface of petrous part of temporal bone there is a internal acoustic meatus. From this internal acoustic meatus facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve and labyrinthine artery passes. Okay, now between the anterior surface and posterior surface there is a border known as superior border. This superior border gives attachment to attached margin of tentorium cerebelli. Attached margin of tentorium cerebelli. Come to the inferior surface. Inferior surface of this petrous part of temporal bone anteriorly has a quadrangular area. This quadrangular area gives attachment to levator pallati muscle. Posterior to this there is an opening. This opening is for the this you can say this is the opening, lower opening of internal carotid artery. You can say this is the lower opening of carotid canal. From this carotid canal, internal carotid artery passes, and more posterior to this, there is a fossa known as the jugular fossa. In this jugular fossa, there is a superior bulb of internal jugular vein rests. Okay, lateral to this, there is a foramen known as the stylomastoid foramen. This you can see here, this is stylomastoid foramen. From this stylomastoid foramen, facial nerve comes out. Okay, now somewhere here you can see here there is a presence of styloid process. There is a presence of styloid process. You cannot see here. I will show you in the skull. You can better appreciate in this skull. This is the styloid process. You can see here. This is a styloid process. Okay, and this styloid process, this is the styloid process. This styloid process has different attachment. Anteriorly, you can see like this. This is the styloid process. Anteriorly, this styloid process gives attachment to stylopharyngeus muscle. Okay, not anteriorly. Anteriorly, it gives attachment to styloglossus muscle. Medially, it gives attachment to stylopharyngeus muscle, and posteriorly, it gives attachment to the stylohyoid muscle, and laterally, it gives attachment to stylomandibular ligament, and its tip of this styloid process gives attachment to stylohyoid ligament. So 3 muscles and 2 ligaments takes attachment on the styloid process. Anteriorly, there is a attachment of styloglossus muscle. Medially, there is a attachment of stylopharyngeus muscle. Posteriorly, there is an attachment of stylohyoid muscle. And on the lateral side, it gives attachment to a ligament that is known as the stylomandibular ligament, and its tip gives attachment to another ligament, that is stylohyoid ligament. Now, at last, the tympanic part. I'll show you in the bone. This is the tympanic part. Tympanic part, see, this tympanic part is related with the parotid gland mostly. Okay, this tympanic part is related with the parotid gland mostly. And one more thing is left. The tympanic part, you can see here, the tympanic part forms the anterior wall, floor, and lower part of the posterior wall of external acoustic meatus. So the contribution of tympanic part in the external formation of the external acoustic meatus, what part it forms? Anterior wall, floor, and lower part of the posterior wall of external acoustic meatus. It is formed by this tympanic part, while upper roof and the upper part of the posterior wall is formed by the squamous part of the temporal bone. Okay, so this is all about the temporal bone. It is a very lengthy bone, but I have make it short for you. Thank you very much.